Documentary introduction. Names, language, and textual integrity. Original covenant script, Paleo Abary, or Hebrew. Before the exile in Babel, 6th century BCE, the Abarim wrote using Paleo Abary alphabet, a script closely related to the Phoenician script, which is to be read from left to right. In that script, the name of the son of the creator of all things would be transliterated in English as Yahusha, but would have appeared like this in raw form: Yahusha, Yod He Wa Shun Ayin. That is the Paleo Abary, or Hebrew spelling of what later appears in square Aramaic form as this. Post-exilic script, Ezra script, or Aramaic square script. After the exile in Babel, Ezra and the returning scribes began using the Aramaic square script, which is the form recognized today in modern Abrit, or modern Hebrew. It looks like this again. While the sound and meaning remained, Yahuwah is salvation, the visual form of the letters changed. The Paleo Abary script represents the ancient covenant script most likely used by Masha, or Moses, Dawid, or David, and the early Nabia, the prophets, before Babel's influence. Modern Hebrew, also called Masoretic voweled Aramaic. Vowel points were added between roughly 600 and 950 CE, and again standardized from 1915 CE to present day. This is inconveniently the only Hebrew form readily translated by modern digital tools. Aramaic square letters were adopted for administrative and linguistic convenience under Persian rule. Paleo Abary, also called Paleo Hebrew, used approximately between 1000 BCE and 135 CE in the regions of Yasharal, according to Hadabar, the word. Developed from Proto-Kanani scripts used between roughly 1050 and 458 BCE. Early Mosaic hieroglyphic Abary, also referred to as hieroglyphic Abary. This pictographic system evolved into what later resembled Phoenician and Paleo Abary forms. The pictographs preserve original semantic intent at the letter level and date broadly between the years 1859 and 1050 BCE. Abram spoke a language closely related to those of the Canaanite peoples when he departed from Ur of Chaldeans. Upon entering Canaan at the instruction of Yahuwah, Abram built altars, received covenant promises, and interacted linguistically and culturally with the peoples of the land, establishing the covenantal trajectory that followed. Tetragrammaton script forms. Masoretic, or voweled Aramaic, is not original Abary. It is historically documented as post-exilic, post-temple development. The Masoretic system remains ongoing due to the continued application of vowel points. The avoidance of the sacred name is commonly explained as reverence. Historically, this explanation is incomplete. Deeper motives will be examined in later sections. Masoretic claims and historical challenge. Medieval Judaism attributed vowel point inspiration to Masha, or Moses, with Ezra sometimes credited for standardization. This claim is historically unsustainable. Torah manuscripts contain no vowel points. In 1538, Elias Levita published Masoreth HaMasoreth, correctly identifying vowel points as a late Masoretic edition, circa 500 CE. Though controversial, his assessment was accurate. The Catholic or Universal Church received this development favorably as it reinforced Latin Vulgate supremacy. The Council of Trent canonized this posture, using textual ambiguity to undermine sola scriptura and reinforce ecclesiastical interpretive authority. Reformation complications. Figures such as Luther, Calvin, and Zwingli accepted Levita's arguments selectively, discarding rabbinic traditions while maintaining alignment with Roman power structures for survival. This resulted in doctrinal compromise and the adoption of anti-Semitic rhetoric, including by Philip Melanchthon. Martin Luther documented hostility, 1543. Luther's later writings reveal virulent hostility toward Jews. His publications included On the Jews and Their Lies, On the Ineffable Name and the Lineage of, On the Last Words of David. These works advocated destruction of synagogues, confiscation of writings, and suppression of teachers. Distinctions clarified. Jews are not the original covenant peoples, the Abarim are. Followers of the Way, or early Nazarim, observe Torah, appointed times, and Shabbatot, while rejecting practices which were rendered obsolete by the completed work of Yahushua Mashiach. This distinction explains historical confusion between Jews and followers of the Way, or early Nazarim. Letter historicity note. The letter J was introduced in 1524 CE by Gian Giorgio Trissino. The letter V derives from Phoenician wa via the Latin u. Adabar context. Shamut, or Exodus 3:14. And Alua said to Moshe, or Moses, I am that which I am. And he said, Thus you shall say to the children of Yasharal, I am has sent me to you. The name given was I am. Remember this for future reference in later sections. Historical attestation of Yahu. Epigraphic evidence from the ancient Near East, including the Soleb inscription referencing the Shasu of Yahu. This demonstrates historical use of Yahu as a divine name element associated with Semitic peoples. This supports the antiquity and preservation of the consonantal root Yahu, or YHU, independent of later textual traditions. Number 1. Methodological orientation. How names are handled. Etymology concerns the origin and historical development of words, including their constituent sounds and meanings over time. Transliteration is the process of representing letters from one writing system into another while preserving sound correspondence. Translation conveys meaning rather than sound. Because names function as identifiers rather than abstract concepts, this documentary transliterates names rather than translating them, preserving original phonetic structure and historical integrity. Number 2. Linguistic origin of the names used. The names used herein are of Abary, or Hebrew origin, the language of the original covenant texts and peoples. Names are presented in both Paleo Abary and Masoretic forms for reference clarity, while recognizing that the earliest Abary texts were written without vowel points. You will see this in sections going forward. Number 3. Masoretic Abary and name equivalence. The Masoretic form of this designates both Yahusha, son of Nun, Yahusha, the Mashiach of the renewed covenant. This shared consonantal form establishes linguistic equivalence, not distinction. The preserved semantic meaning of this name is Yahuwah saves, or deliverance of Yahuwah. No pronunciation certainty is asserted beyond consonantal structure and attested linguistic rules. Number 4. Greek and Latin phonetic constraints. When Abary names entered Greek transmission, structural phonetic constraints applied. Greek lacks an initial Y consonant sound. Greek lacks the SH or shun phoneme. Greek renders Abary names using the closest available sounds. As a result, this form of Yahusha was rendered in Greek as this, Jesus. Latin inherited this Greek form, Jesus, as Isu, and later English inherited it in turn. This progression reflects phonetic limitation, not semantic change. Number 5. Historical transmission chain. The documented transmission pathway follows a consistent historical pattern. Abary to Greek, Septuagint, Greek to Latin Vulgate, Latin to early English translations. Early English translations did not transliterate Abary names directly, but inherited pre-existing Greek-Latin forms. This is very important to understand going through this documentary. Number 6. The absence of the letter J. The letter J did not exist in English until the 16th century. Earlier English renderings used I and Y interchangeably. The historical fact remains that the later English spellings reflect language evolution, not original form. Number 7. Scope clarification. This section establishes methodology, transmission, and linguistic continuity. Historical, theological, and institutional implications arising from these findings are addressed in later sections of the documentary in great detail. Documentary introduction. When I began this journey of uncovering the truth hidden beneath centuries of religious tradition, translation, syncretism, and deliberate erasure, I immediately realized that nothing in Hadabar Yahuwah, or the Word of Yahuwah, can be understood without restoring the worldview that its original writers possessed. Translators, throughout the years, have both unwittingly and wittingly followed the systems created to cause confusion and deter humanity from truly identifying that view, so as to prevent discernment in what actions to take in order to preserve it. However, what Yahuwah has spoken will remain and come to fruition no matter what man does to prevent it. The original writers did not live in a materialistic world. They did not think in Greek abstractions. They did not divide the cosmos into spiritual and physical, the way that modern Christianity does. They lived with constant awareness of an unseen realm, a realm more ancient than the dust of the ground, a realm as real as the stones of Masha's tablets, a realm that governed the affairs of nations, kings, nabiam or prophets, and ordinary men. As I continued to study, it became clear to me that the greatest tragedy of human history is not merely that people have forgotten Yahuwah, but that they have forgotten the world He created, the unseen world, the world behind the veil. They have truly missed. Without this understanding, the stories of Adam and Chua lose their depth. The warnings of the Nabiam or the prophets lose their urgency, and the mission of Yahusha is stripped of its cosmic significance. It became evident that restoring the names alone is not enough. Restoring the transliterations alone is not enough. Restoring the appointed times, the calendar, the commands, these are essential, yet even these do not reach the root of the problem blinding humanity unless the worldview itself is restored. For the entire message of Hadabar, Yahuwah, is built on supernatural foundation. And without that foundation, the entire structure collapses into moral stories and diluted religion, such as seen in the world today. This is why I must begin with the unseen realm, the realm which has been hidden from sight by Yahuwah due to transgression, and hidden in context by Hashatan due to deception. Before humanity was formed, before Adam drew his first breath, before Hua opened her eyes, before the garden was planted, there was a world already alive in motion, filled with beings, hierarchy, order, music, worship, rebellion, conflict, and purpose. This realm existed before the mountains were raised, before the depths were carved, before the stars were spoken into their paths. To understand what happened to humanity, we must first understand what happened before humanity. To understand why deception exists now, we must understand how deception began. To understand why Yahusha came, we must understand what was broken long before flesh was formed. With this in mind, I begin this documentary with the beginning that came before the beginning, the unseen realm that shaped everything that followed. Shalom, peace to you, brothers and sisters.